Hey, welcome. In this explainer, we are going to tackle a fantastic English idiom, one you can use to describe a very specific and, let's be honest, a very common type of personality.
So just think for a second. I bet you know someone, right? That one person who can go from totally calm to completely furious in a heartbeat. And it's always over something tiny. Like a spilled drink or a messy room. Well, English has the perfect phrase for exactly that kind of behavior, quick-tempered. It's a really powerful way to describe that, packing a whole lot of meaning into just two little words. Okay, so what is the actual definition here? A quick-tempered person is someone who gets angry or loses their patience super easily. The key things to remember are that the reaction is almost always emotional, it's usually triggered by something small, and it happens really fast, without much thinking.
But with idioms, it's not always so simple. There's a little more to it than just the dictionary definition. The context and how you use the phrase really matters.
So let's look at the two sides of this. On the left, we've got the negative view, which is, by far, the most common meaning. If you call someone quick-tempered, it can definitely be an insult, so you gotta be careful. But on the right, there's another way to look at it. In some situations, it could just mean that a person is really honest and spontaneous with their feelings. They just don't hide anything.
Honestly, the best way to really get a feel for an idiom is to see it used in real life. So let's check out a couple of examples in both English and Indonesian to make it crystal clear. Okay, here's our first one. In English, my father is quite quick-tempered when the house is messy. And now in Indonesian, ayahku orangnya agak cepat marah jika rumah berantakan. See? That's a classic example. A small, everyday thing like a messy house triggers that big, quick reaction.
All right, let's look at our second example. In English, although he is quick-tempered, he actually has a kind and forgiving heart. And in Indonesian, meskipun dia cepat marah, hatinya sebenarnya lembut dan mudah memaafkan. Now, this one is great because it shows how the idiom can describe just one part of a more complex person. Yeah, the anger might be quick, but that's not the whole story.
So let's wrap this all up. What's the final takeaway? Why does understanding an idiom like this really matter when you're learning a new language?
Here's what you really need to remember. Quick-tempered means someone gets angry easily, and it almost always has a negative vibe. And because you're talking about someone's actual personality, you want to use it carefully. But the biggest takeaway is this. Learning idioms isn't just about memorizing words. It's about becoming a much more sensitive and precise communicator.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Describing anger is one thing, but what other emotions do you find really tough to describe perfectly when you're speaking a new language? It's something interesting to think about as you keep learning.
And that's our look at quick-tempered. I really hope this explainer helped you out. Thanks so much for watching.